What up? This is Josh Gray. You rocking with us on the Stay Woke podcast.
You're now tuned into the hottest podcast in the world, the Stay Woke podcast, right here on TheSonicBreakdown.com.
Man, it's time to wake up. Get this cake up. Only thing I care about is switching.
Welcome back for another Stay Woke podcast. This is DeRa Brinson, and you know the Stay Woke podcast is presented by TheSonicBreakdown.com. Head over there and check out our article or one of our reviews. Today we're going to do another Let's Talk About It segment, and for this Let's Talk About It segment, we're going to catch up with Josh Gray. For all my other woke folks out there who haven't heard the other two Josh Gray episodes from the Stay Woke podcast, the first episode that we did with Josh Gray was talking about his album called Disconnected, which was a personal album of his journey from New Orleans to the Bay Area. The second time that we interviewed Josh Gray, it was for a series that we did called The Great Summer Tour, which was talking with him and fellow artists that were on the Great Summer Tour with him. We interviewed S.C.O.O.G, another artist, as well as his brother, Twan Beasy, and then Chris, his manager. Check that out. It's called The Great Summer Tour. And next you'll hear the conversation that me and Josh Gray had about his upcoming album and about his new release that will be coming out shortly called Stack It with Pharaoh and S.C.O.O.G. What you been up to since the Great Summer Tour? Since, like I said, the last time we talked to you was on the Great Summer Tour. That was just wrapping up, and at that point you were just hitting the studio hard, producing.
Not much has changed, man. Not much has changed. Like producing like crazy right now, man. I've been expanding and reaching out to some more well-known names in the game and getting some production placed, but also staying pretty much balanced as far as the artist too. I recently sent you a record I did with, of course, S.C.O.O.G and Pharaoh, so that was a good feature. And then I got some other stuff coming up that I can't quite talk about just yet, but just expanding, man, doing more things to just gain more notoriety and bring more of an audience to what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, before we get into, the project and, what you've been doing on the business side, like, personally, like, how's everything been going? How you been, just catching up? Like,
Oh, yeah, I've been good, man. Just working hard. Not much has changed on that end, but just trying to further develop my sound and, networking and trying to reach out to some folks that I wouldn't normally reach out to and build different relationships that I just didn't have in the past. Gotcha. And it's all about expanding, man, and doing things better than the way you did it the last time. So you don't run into those same, things you would call like hurdles or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. And I know, like, because lately in the news with everything with the Stephen Clark and Alton Sterling, I know as black men, it's been weighing on my mind heavily, and we were talking about it even off the air about how it's been weighing on your mind. Like, how is that affecting the music for you? Like, in just your mentality, your perspective?
Hey, in every way, man. You know what? Like, even just deeper than music, like, it affects your mood throughout the day. You know what I mean? Just reflecting back on the news that was recently posted from Alton Sterling, right? Yeah. Like, that affected me in, a way, I mean, not just because another brother, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, that hurts. But then also for it to be in my backyard in Baton Rouge, it's like, I mean, yeah, that's damn near right home for me. So, that affected me even further. Like, damn, this happened right in my backyard. So it's like, that could have been me.
Yeah. And so, how's the response that you're getting from people back home about how they're dealing with it? Because I know that can be heavy on you too, because you're not out there to to give that support and to just to be there for them, because you're out here and you're trying to do your thing at the same time. Like, so that juggling act of trying to, how are you maintaining that, and how are they dealing with it?
Man, I think it's overwhelmingly becoming this feeling of like numbness. Like, people are starting to get numb to it. Like, they know it's happening. They know, that at some point something radical is gonna have to happen to like change it. But as far as the feelings, it's like the normal emotion of feeling sad, that kind of
Has passed.
has passed. It's like, now we're numb to the sadness. Now we're just, we're ready to take action. You know what I mean? Let's skip the sadness and let's get justice. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the officers who got off for it, you know what I mean, that just further proves, like, even in 2018, man, how far ahead are we really? You know what I mean? I still feel there's like a huge, like, separation between races.
Yeah.
And, it's like no matter what we accomplish, first black president or, we've been dominating in almost every other category as far as sports or entertainment for so long. It's like, how much do we need to do to still be viewed equally? You know what I mean? It's something that just still hasn't happened.
And to be honest, is the fact that when you were talking about how the people are kind of jaded to the aspect of being sad to these incidents.
Yeah.
That it's kind of disheartening in the fact but I get it though. I get
right,
that why,
yeah.
because you see it happening so much and you don't see anything changing. So
right.
But like that aspect of it makes me feel that we're making it become norm. And it's the same thing that I say with President Trump, and that I said even before the election, is we're making things and we're allowing things that should not be justified as normal.
Right, exactly.
The things he's saying, the things that we're seeing with police shootings, the videos, all this stuff, we're becoming norm to that. We should not become norm to it. We shouldn't become norm to school shootings. Remember when Columbine first happened?
Exactly.
That changed the world, it felt like, because we're like, what? This can happen? Mm-hmm. And now we just had the Parkland shooting and it was like, oh, it's another one. It's
I feel
think
like
it's hard for society to like so that's why I get that feeling of not acceptance, but
yeah, for sure not acceptance, just more of this like numb feeling, like, why spend time feeling sad over something I've seen before when I can use that time and energy to have a more positive outcome and have some kind of effect on change, But I completely understand those who are sad, who are like much closer to it. I actually seen, not only the recent post, but also like family members of his speaking, and they were like saying, nearly the same thing I'm saying. Like they're through with like the sadness. It's more so they want justice, man. It's like those kids lost a father, right? Mm-hmm. That won't be replaced. There's nothing you can do to change that. Yeah. So to sit and like, okay, I'm sad about it, that's one thing. But I think
the grieving period is over.
It's like
the grieving period's over, and it's now time for action. Now time for
now
use
what are we gonna do
use
about
that emotion to make things better.
Right.
And hopefully we'll get to the point and talking about it, having these discussions, amongst us, amongst others, will help bridge that gap and help those that don't understand or don't feel the same way that we feel about it to give that understanding. So I think that is important.
Bro, I feel like this time right now is like one of the like dopest times to be socially conscious, because like the platform for it hasn't been there the way it was like way back in like the 90s. Like there was a time where that social conscious movement was really alive, and it just kind of went away. And then now recently it's like so many things to stand up for and to like really like put your foot forward and make a difference on. I feel like a lot more people are aware. I feel like you're starting to see it in the content. You can hear it in the content, and that even just to like kind of break off a little bit but still related, like with radio programming, right? There was a time where radio programming was a lot less biased to appealing to like one setting, you know what I mean, as far as like you just want to reach out to the clubs or parties. And, there's a time TLC, Aaliyah, all that kind of music was on, and they made somewhat socially conscious music. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
TLC Waterfalls.
Right, exactly. Pretty, you know what I mean? Songs like that, that's like, that will play on the radio. We've gotten so far away from that now, and you can't blame the artist. At the end of the day, you have to blame the programming, and to me, it's related because that programming is becoming the norm to not hear anything socially conscious. I mean, think about it, man. Like, Kendrick is one of the biggest artists in the past, 3 or 4 years, right? There's not many you would say are as hot as Kendrick.
Yeah.
Yet, how often do we hear Kendrick on the radio?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing to even think about.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
hear Lil Yachty, Uzi Vert,
and
way
not
more.
to take away from those dudes. I'm not saying nothing
because
negative about those
we talked
dudes.
about it before on the other podcast. Actually, our first podcast that we did when we were talking about Disconnected, about having that balance.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And radio still does not have that balance.
Yeah, it's just like no balance, man. And I feel like there was a time where, I mean, you got the club and the party stuff, but then you also got some of the conscious and you know, it was just more balance.
Gave you that balance, and that is important. Let's go into a little bit about your project now. Segue into the new project. How is that coming after Disconnected? And if you haven't checked out the podcast that we did with Josh Gray for Disconnected, we went in depth about that album. So go check that out on the SayWokePodcast.com or Apple Podcast or YouTube. You can see it there as well. From when we had that discussion about Disconnected, you know, that album was so personal and introspective, and the production also had that feeling of warmth, but it also had a very diverse level. So you did get, you know, your more introspective tracks, but you did have your party tracks, and then you had your more energetic tracks all throughout. How is this new project in relation to that one?
I would say this one is very personal, but I think I'm speaking through like the lens of like the culture on this one a lot more. It's you know, like what happened with Alton Sterling, or you know what
Stephen Clark in Sacramento.
Stephen Clark, like things like that, you know, were not quite touched upon on Disconnected, but they will be on this project. And the name of the new project is called Deluded. And the reason I chose that title, I mean, it's like an evolution of Disconnected. And, you know, anything you get from me is going to be personal, man. Like, I dive in deep into how I feel at that moment. And I try to make the music somewhat reflect that. But Disconnected was almost a journey from New Orleans to
the Bay Area. I remember,
Bay, LA, you know what I mean? Just, it was almost like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type of story, you know what I mean? And I gave you like details about that process.
Yeah, the story was very vivid, and it, like you said, it took you from that journey. You felt as if you were going through the journey with you and experiencing the ups and the downs,
right?
But seeing it from your eyes of not knowing what's going to happen before it happens. Because there's ways to tell stories like that where you're telling a journey, but you're telling it from the foresight. You know, I see, or that, you know, saying, oh, I see it. This is why this worked out. Where I felt disconnected, you're saying it. You know, I hit this roadblock. I don't know how it's going to, you know, benefit me or hurt me. And then when you get to the later on track, or you get through the complete project, you go, oh, okay. So I see why that roadblock you were talking about when you were going from New Orleans, affected you to the part when you're talking about you're in the Bay and you're missing people in New Orleans. Like that whole evolution, I thought was really interesting and
yeah, man,
eye-opening for that project, especially for a listener getting to know you.
Right.
And so with this project, it's going to be a little bit different.
Okay. Yeah, and towards the end of Disconnected, you know, the last song on the record is almost like a summary, or like a, you know, it's like a quick look back at what, you know, the entire project was about. And Deluded kind of picks up right where that left off. Like, oh, okay, you know, what happens next? You know what I mean? What
the story's still continuing.
Right,
yeah.
The story is not done yet. So we're going to pick up, but along the way, I kind of get caught into self-reflection, and I would say like cultural reflection, like what is my place in society or in today's landscape, and am I comfortable fitting in, which I'm not. So how much of a problem is it going to be with me standing out and not conforming to a lot of things I just don't agree with, and still navigating this industry where, you know, you got to play politics sometimes, man. And, you know, anybody who knows me, I hate politics because oftentimes, you know, you sacrifice the greater good for a decision that may benefit people, but not all people. And, you know, I'm just not that kind of person who is comfortable just like, you know, shitting on a couple people. And, but these people are cool, but, you know, I just shitted on these people here. I'm not that kind of person. But Deluded is essentially about not being tricked into thinking that you're something you're not, or not conforming or being a part of something. Like staying true to you, man. Essentially, don't be misguided into thinking there's only one way to do something. You know what I mean? Same thing like we're talking about the radio programming, right? Don't be fooled into thinking there's only one way to get on the radio, man. You know, there's another way to get on there. You know, at the end of the day, the people decide what's hot.
No, that's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
With Deluded, do you feel, as you explained, you felt like you were in that process of questioning yourself, asking yourself, am I deluded, in essence of, you know, and then the realization if you are or you aren't. Do you feel, does this album give a conclusion to that question for the listener's perspective?
Yeah, definitely. Because like Disconnected, you know, I tried to like strip myself away from everything. Like, man, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm going to do my own thing. And then Deluded is more so, can I actually do that? Or
Gotcha.
is that a non-successful route? And, you know, not tricking myself into what I believe is true and me not conforming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of artists go through that, man, where like you stay true to something for so long and then you dabble into something else and you see success from it and you think, oh, well, that thing was successful. Maybe I should go that route. And so you could get lost real easily, man. And, you know, I had to take it upon myself, like, hey, I refuse to get lost in, you know, what everybody else is doing.
You don't want to be Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, man. I know what feels good to me and what level I'm trying to reach in the Mount Rushmore of rap I hope to be a part of at some point. And I know I got a long way to go to get there, but I'm not going to get there without being myself and staying true to what I think, you know, makes a great artist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And with Deluded, for production-wise, did you... Because I know with Disconnected, you had your hands throughout that entire production. That was your, you know...
Yeah.
You and Beast Makes Banger, I think, was...
Yeah,
Bars Makes...
Yeah, Bars Makes Bangers, yep.
That y'all... What about with this project, with Deluded?
I still got my boy Bars. I got his hands on it. I had to keep him involved because I wanted it to be an evolution. I didn't want to go like too far left field from Disconnected. I wanted it to be like a natural progression from it. So, you know, I think overall the sound is a little grittier and it's pretty crispy. If you're a producer, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still heavy sample based. I mean, you know, that's my style, man. Heavy sample based. We got the thick bass lines for the southern folks like myself. And you know what you get with me, man. You're going to get heartfelt, in-depth content that should make you think and, you know, push you to really challenge your ear as well. And then sonically, I've been working with my boy Dre just to expand sonically and
add new sonic properties to
oh
your
yeah
sounds
definitely, man. You don't want to make the same music over and
Yeah.
over, so
Evolution,
just expanding. And I played you 2 records now.
Yeah, that's what I was about to go to. Is I wanted to talk about Stack It with Nef Pharaoh.
Yeah,
First of all, how did that come about?
So basically, through my boy Dre, who's engineering for me, he has a good relationship with a lot of folks, man.
Shout out to Dre.
And he, Dre bridged that gap and brought us in. And shout out to Neff. Neff was real cool, man. Mm-hmm. He came to the studio and kicked it like he was the homie for years, man.
That's what's up.
And we just kicked it, had a good time. He laid down the verse in like 20, 30 minutes. And it was a wrap, man. It's good energy, man.
And with that, when you were making the production for it, what was put it this way, did you have the production prior to you getting Neff, or is that like, how did that work? Of choosing the production, or choosing him to be on that production, or him wanting to be on that production?
Right.
That part?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, man, I can just go to my library of beats and pick something like, hey, this might fit this artist. Or
like you have a feel.
Artist.
Yeah.
But for this particular record, I had the sample maybe for a few weeks. And I didn't do anything with it. And when I got the word that, we could pull off the Neff feature and get in and work, I went to the crib that day and
had to tighten that up.
Sped up the sample and, wanted to make it a little bit more up-tempo. Gotcha. So I could also play into, his style and vibe, but still, stay
keep
true
the essence
to my lane. And,
keep your essence.
Yeah, so I think it was a good combination, man. Good collab.
No, I definitely think it was a good collaboration. The production, again, it's if you listen to Josh Gray's music before, it's that smooth production, very very clean, but still has that energy behind it, and and that's what I was telling you when you first let me hear it. It's the BPMs to me are kind of lower, but again, that energy and the progression of the energy, it's like you're running uphill. Like that's how it feels. Is you come in with the first verse and you have a cool, more laid back kind of approach to it. Yeah. And then Neff comes in and he's like, okay, and he's feeding off that energy and he's going in, and then S.C.O.O.G comes in and he's like, like Dragon Ball Z, Goku saying like he's powering up. Was that the intentions when you went into the project, or kind of just organically came like that?
Hey man, that's interesting you bring that up, because S.C.O.O.G originally did not want to go last. You know what I mean? He wanted me to go last, and when I heard his verse, I was like, man, I think you just feel better last, because he was pretty like animated about the song in general. Like he really had like strong feelings about the record, and I mean, I made the track, so I'm a lot of times so deep into it that it takes for another artist to bring it new energy for me to see. Okay, this. Yeah,
you're so in it.
This is dope, but
you can't see the forest amongst the trees. All you seeing right now is just trees, and he's like, coming from the outside saying, "Bro, it's a big ass forest right here."
Right, exactly, and that was the case, man. So I convinced him to go last, and I mean the rest is history. We put Neff in the middle. I felt because his style is probably the most different from the two of us, so that
was a great bridge.
Be like a perfect bridge to the two of our styles.
And that's how it felt, at least from my perspective, from listening. It was like you came in, like I said, with the slower, and then his energy was right in the middle of both of yours, and the content was just different enough from yours, because all three verses are different. The content is cohesive in the theme of Stack It.
Right.
It all fits that. It's not. It doesn't sound like Neff just sent you some vocals, because he was like, it sounds like you all came together on this track.
He came
which is
in
another
in the lab, and he recorded with us, and I think you can tell.
And you could feel. Yeah, there's a feel of energy that it feels cohesive throughout it. And how does that particular track, again, without giving too much away, because how does that fit into the project as a whole?
Actually, that's not on the project, man.
That's just
something.
Just a teaser, just to throw out there.
Yeah, that's something we plan on releasing prior to the project, to just gain some steam and also to expand the fan base. And for those who haven't had Josh Gray music since Disconnected, it's something to kind of hold you over while new music's, on the way.
It's an appetizer,
Yeah, exactly.
It's an appetizer for the full meal of the album coming soon.
Yeah.
And I also got a chance to listen to the second track with S.C.O.O.G.
Yeah, that record's actually on the project. Okay. Yeah.
And to me, let's go into that one a little bit. For me, when I first heard the intro to that track, no verses, nothing has been said, just intro to the production.
Okay.
I instantly was like, this has a 90s kind of R&B kind of feel.
Yeah.
But and then that bass gets in and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
What was your idea around the production for that, and what led you to that?
Yeah. Actually, man, I haven't been to church in a really long time. And I wanted that feeling again. You know that feeling, man. You walk into church and you just feel blessed, and it's just a certain vibe that you only get when you're in that space. And of course, being from New Orleans, the horns are everything to me. So it's like, what, let's get something just with that soulful feel. Let's bring the horns in. And Bars actually worked on that record with me, and I just wanted to make sure it was still current, so I went with drums that still feel like today.
Yeah, even though it has that 90s R&B feel to me, once the full progression of the production completes, and you get past the breakdown, there's no denying that it's very current,
right?
But it has that nostalgia quality that people want.
Exactly, man. So once again, that's just one, and the project's only 10 songs, man. I wanted to condense it. I know Disconnected was 12, but this one's only 10. But I'm really going pretty deep and in depth into each one. And this Disconnected, S.C.O.O.G was the only feature. Probably same thing on this one.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Not gonna go too feature crazy. And Deluded, I think is gonna shock some folks, man, because of course the production is gonna hold that certain standard, but some of the things I touch on and am comfortable saying on this project is probably things I wouldn't have thought to say on Disconnected. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Just in my own self progress and progression in music and everything.
And you get the best work out of artists that get to that point of that freedom to say what they really want to say. Because a lot of times there's people to this day, that still don't ever truly get to say or really understand and have the freedom to say what they want to say. And you have that freedom to say what you want to say, and then the skills to articulate it in the manner in which you want to articulate it, which I think is important.
Yeah, that's a challenge in itself, man, because I have a really big networking circle, and a lot of times folks have certain feelings they want to express through me, and just channeling their energy and having it, come out through my lens is, it's a challenge sometimes, man. And, I think on Deluded, not only am I talking about my own personal struggle, but I'm also speaking through people close to me and their personal struggle, and that's something Disconnected. It was all about me, you know what I mean? My unique story, and I think this Deluded taps more into just the culture and what everyday people are going through, and how it relates to me and how it's affecting all of us.
Yeah. So you're gonna, I mean, which I think is big too, is for you to be basically it sounds like you're gonna be a conduit to express other people's stories through this album.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be the voice, not just your voice. It's gonna be many voices, but like I said, you'll be the conduit which that story gets out through. And I think it's important that and that will help people resonate with them, because I guarantee you're not the, like you said, you already know you're not the only one that's feeling that way. The people around you are feeling that way. And if the people around you are feeling that way, there's going to be a lot more people that are also feeling that way. And I'm really excited to hear what this project will sound like. Like I said, definitely stack it with Pharaoh and S.C.O.O.G. That's a hit right there, man. That's a good ass song.
Appreciate it, man.
And then the other single that's gonna be on Deluded with you and S.C.O.O.G. That's a cool. It's a nice feel. It has to me like a summer, like a spring summer feel to it. Like the vibe of it. Like I can see myself like with the windows down, just riding. Mm-hmm. Before we get out of here, I did want to talk to you also about the clothing line that's going with Deluded.
The merch, man. The merch. So. The way we rolled out the merch for Disconnected, we actually completed the project. We got the merch printed up, and then we started to move the merch on tour, right? Yeah. We took a completely different approach this time because the demand for new merch was so heavy. We were like, okay, let's put out merch building the album so we can wear it, feel like what the album is supposed to feel like while we're creating it, and see how how that affects people. Yeah. And then you know me, man, the tour is gonna come right after the project's done, so folks will already have their merch and
so they can wear it to the concerts and the tour.
They'll be ready, man. And I like to do give backs and just free things, man. So I've already made all kinds of like announcements for like fans who supported and purchased merch. I'm gonna throw like a show pretty soon for those fans who supported, and if you have your merch, you get in free. You know what I mean? Just like a tribute to them for just holding me down.
Yeah, for the support. And it's not the. I think that's it's very admirable, the fact that you see the support and you appreciate the support, because it's two separate things. Man. Some people, they see it but they don't necessarily appreciate it. Right. So I think that's big. And like I said, man, keep rocking with the S.C.O.O.G podcast. We'll definitely let you guys know when those tour dates are coming, when the project's dropping, and we'll definitely have another episode coming out with when we'll talk about that project as well, the tour dates and everything like that. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here, man?
Yeah, man, stay tuned. We're going to release content leading up to the project, just so you can feel a part of it as we make it. And, we have some videos and, of course, more merch. So, yeah, just stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram, @JoshGrayWay. Twitter, same thing, @JoshGrayWay.
And to get the apparel, you can go to Josh Grayway Apparel.
Oh yeah.
At Josh Grayway Apparel on
Instagram. My manager Chris. He'll get you right.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris. I want to also give a shout out to Swan Beezy and S.C.O.O.G as well.
Beezy.
So again, if you haven't heard Disconnected, you definitely need to go get that. You've been sleeping if you ain't get that. And then Deluded will be coming out soon. And then definitely keep an eye out for that single. Stack it with Josh Gray, Pharaoh, and S.C.O.O.G.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. As always.
No problem. And this is the S.C.O.O.G podcast. Thank you for listening, and we out.